Welcome to the Spectator's Creepy Tales. So sit back, relax, and let the silence fill your abode. Now open your eyes.
Hello, my name is Felicia. This is my story. I first saw Zachary when we both worked for the same construction company. I was an administrative assistant, and he was a construction worker. He pretty much was a loner because most of the workers thought that he was crazy. Zachary was not crazy. He was very quiet and observant. First, when I was hired by this company, the manager, Daniela, took me on a tour of the premises. She also introduced me to the workers. Zachary just looked at me and nodded. However, he glared at Daniela and then he continued to work. She said that he did not like her because he wanted to take her out on a date. She refused him and he has been distancing himself from her ever since. Somehow that was hard to believe. Daniela was tall and she had manly features. I would have thought that she was a dude if she wasn't wearing a dress. I don't think Zachary looked at her in that manner. If anything, I believe she was interested in him. Despite their indifference towards each other, I was told a lot about Zachary. The manager told me that he had been in jail for 5 years for aggravated assault. However, she don't feel that he would harm a soul unless he's provoked. Daniela also said that he was a hard worker, and for the 1 year that he's been working for that company, he was never a problem. She said under no circumstances was he late for work and certainly not absent. The other guys avoided him because he rarely smiled or socialized. He only concentrated on his job. He was private and mysterious, and I must say, I was scared of him too. He had tattoos all over his body, and he always looked at me like I was out of place. I was wondering how Daniela knew so much about him. It seemed like part of my training was to know about Zachary. Why was he so important to discuss at this time? It seems like she was intimidated by him. She watched him a lot, but why? Probably reading my mind. Daniela said that everyone that worked for the company had to be fingerprinted. Background checks were done by the police department to ensure that the working environment would be safe from dangerous criminals. Therefore, everyone that worked there had prints and also DNA down at the police headquarters. Apparently, it was in the bylaws of the company. One evening the rain descended like God was holding precipitation until this day. All of the workers had gone home with the exception of Zachary. In the office was just me and the manager. After completing payroll, we were leaving for the night when we saw Zachary. The rain had stopped, and he was preparing to leave too.
Do you ladies need me to walk you all to your car?
No thank you, Zachary. I will be fine. How about you, Felicia?
No thank you. My cab will be arriving soon.
Okay.
This man sat on the back of his truck and pretended that he was playing with his phone.
Felicia, are you sure? I can give you a ride home.
Yes, I'm sure, Daniela. I already called for a cab. I will be okay.
She seemed to be concerned, but I assured her that I would be all right. The manager looked at Zachary, and then she said good night to the both of us. I guess she was wondering why he was sitting on the back of his truck, but I assumed that he was going to make sure that my cab arrived. He didn't want to leave me at a construction site alone. There were some lights left on to prevent theft, but there were also some areas that were dark. Then Zachary spoke.
You know, you don't have to be afraid of me.
I was surprised that he said something to me. I know that he didn't know me well, but I thought that he didn't like me. I didn't know what to say, so I answered him the best way that I could.
Who? Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, I'm new around here. I don't know nobody. I'm still trying to figure it all out and get to know everyone. I'm not a rude person.
I didn't think you were.
I looked at him and he made me feel guilty. Out of my mouth came the words.
I'm sorry.
He smiled and replied.
Okay. And you can call me Zach instead of Zachary. This is a relaxed environment no matter how Danny tries to oppress us.
I sat down next to him on the back of his truck and we talked.
Really? Well, my name is Felicia. I don't have a nickname yet. I'm glad that you're here with me. I know that I would have been scared.
Yes, this place does look scary at night.
Zach told me about the company's high turnover rate of employees in the office where I worked. He said people would just quit and not come back. He also wanted me to be careful because there were volumes of missing persons cases in that city. I didn't know how he could possibly be aware of that, and I didn't bother to ask. We continued to talk until the cab arrived. Zachary was a gentleman and opened the door for me. I told him thank you and that I would see him tomorrow, and he said,
Sure thing.
As the cab driver drove away, I had the urge to look out of the back window, and I did. Zachary was walking and he waved at me. Then he disappeared around the corner. I was glad that he waited with me for the cab. The areas of the construction site that was dark at night made me nervous. We kept hearing noises, yet Zach didn't move. He said to ignore the sounds. He said that he never go and investigate dark areas. Anything can be waiting there. I was glad that he remained with me. A sight like that would make me afraid of being there alone. Later that night, I awakened from my sleep in a cold room. I was so tired when I got in from work. All I wanted to do was fall asleep on my couch. Daniela had piled so much work on me. When I completed one task, she would give me another. I was really exhausted. I sat down and tried to think of something to do. There was an old black and white movie on my television. I got up and turned on the heater. I put a blanket around me and continued to watch television. I searched the channels for something to watch and was able to see a few remaining minutes of the news. Zachary was right. There was a missing persons alert. I thought to myself, what kind of city did I move to? My house was warm now, but I was a bit hungry. I walked into the kitchen and looked in the refrigerator. What I saw made me realize that I really needed groceries. I looked into my cabinets and they were empty. During this time, the pizza places were closed. I lived just one block from the all-night corner store. On several occasions, I have walked to that store and nothing happened. So I decided that I would go and buy a few things. I knew that the street was well lit, and I felt secure about that. Besides, the police frequented the neighborhood a lot, therefore I felt safe. What's the worst that can happen? Well, I put on my coat and started walking down the sidewalk. It was quiet and snow fell like rainfall. Yet I could see ahead that someone was lying in the middle of the street. As I got closer, I saw that it was someone dressed like a clown. My street wisdom clicked in, and I thought to myself, this could be a trick. So I picked up the pace and ran down the street. When I arrived at the store, I saw a sign on the door. The store was closed due to a fire, therefore I had no choice but to walk by that clown again. I peeked around the corner to see if he was still lying in the street, but he was gone. I was really scared now. Where did he go? Could he be hiding in the dark waiting for me? I was trying to rationalize the event, but I realized that this was an odd situation. Many times I have walked at night to that store and never had anything like this happen to me. However, this night was very strange. It seems as if the streets were empty just for me and him. I knew that he was nearby and watching me. Then I heard maniacal laughter sounds that scared me to the core of my existence. I didn't really want to give off to whoever it was that I was scared as all get out. I just wanted to make it home safe. It seems like when you are walking down a street at night that you hear all kinds of weird noises. Yet this night the street was silent. Even in the freezing winter, the wind sings its nightly lullaby that creeps me out like a child about to be immunized. However, it was so quiet that I could hear the direction of the wind. Something out here was evil. There was no sound of an owl or any nocturnal animal. I was really scared. As I continued to walk, I heard the sounds of footsteps. I turned around, but I saw no one. Continuing to walk, I heard the footsteps again, but whoever was doing this would stop whenever I stopped. I didn't want to take a risk and walk down another street because they were darker. The streetlights were not as bright as the ones on my street. I had no choice but to try at all costs to make it back to my place. Besides, I don't know where that clown went. I swallowed, looked around, and continued to walk down the street. To my horror, one of the streetlights began to flicker, and that's when I saw that creepy clown. He was oddly tall, and apparently he had changed his mask, or there were two clowns out here. I ran to another street. My fear intensified as I saw that he was standing on the same street as me, but he was in the middle of the street. He held up a black balloon written in bold red letters that said "Hi there" as he greeted me with a smile. I ran to the next street, and this demented clown had on different attire. I could not understand how he changed his clothes so quickly. However, he held up a light blue balloon which frightened me. The light balloon was in red bold letter that stated "Let's play Felicia," and this time he had a knife in the other hand. How did this creep know my name? I started running and the clown was chasing me and yelling,
Come here, child. I want to talk to you. Come here, child. I want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you, Felicia. Let's chat.
His voice sounded deep in tone, so diabolical. He was fixated on me.
You better stop running. Stop running. I just want to talk. You're making me really angry, lady.
The clown shouted as he continued to pursue me. Then he started grunting and making other strange noises that scared me even more.
I'm going to get you. I am going to get you. You just wait. I'm going to get you in your face too.
Then the clown hummed a weird tune as he ran across the street. He was now on the sidewalk opposite me. If this was a nightmare, I wanted to wake up, but reality set in. This was really happening. Out of the blue, this creep started crawling on the street. Soon, he resumed to chase me some more. I was being chased by a crazed clown. He was running down the sidewalk on the other side of the street. He did not take his eyes off of me. He often turned his head to change his mask and would drop the other one to the ground. Yet he wanted me so bad that he did not care about his other masks being left behind. This clown was clever, for he turned away, while running, to conceal his true identity, and this time he was still carrying a knife. This clown was so supernatural-like that if he came to an uneven step on the sidewalk, he would hop over it without looking down. That was an indicator to me that this nutcase knew this street very well. Did he live on this street? Was he always watching me? What's the deal? Finally, I lost the clown. I breathed a sigh of relief and I ran to an unfamiliar street called Fear Street. Fear Street? I thought to myself, this is creepy. Unfortunately, there was this sick psychotic clown with a smile on his face, different attire, and black balloons. Will this ever end?
Do you want to come down my street? I promise that you will be safe. Not.
As this clown continued to run and mimicked me, I ran like all hell was after me. I grabbed for my keys and realized that I left them at home. What was I going to do? This clown was hot on my tail. Then I remembered that I always left a spare key under the rug on my front porch. I was a good distance from that clown because I used to run track in high school and college. Yet this clown was relentless. He was not letting up. This thing was going to kill me tonight. I wanted to live, and I had to use my wits to outsmart this cat. When I made it to my front porch, I quickly removed the key from under the rug and unlocked the door. I can hear the footsteps of that clown running. Nervously, I looked, and that clown was running faster and nearing my steps. Removing the keys from the door, I ran into the house. Once inside, I locked the door. I made sure that all of my windows and back door were locked. Then I heard the slight sound of tapping on my door. The person said in the voice of a small child,
I'm locked outside and I'm thirsty.
I knew it was that clown. Without notice, I heard banging at my door nonstop. Then he was jiggling with my doorknob. This time he was wearing another mask. This guy was really mental. Then he bent down and started staring at the peephole. He stopped talking and just stared at the peephole like he could see me looking at him. I dialed 911 and told the operator what was going on. I basically whispered, but the operator heard me. She told me to stay on the line. The clown remained at my front door staring at the peephole until he heard the siren of the police draw near. By the time police arrived, the crazy clown was gone. However, they were able to pick up the clown mask and said that they were sure that DNA would be on the inside of the mask. Sweat and saliva were inside and outside the mask. I was glad to hear that. That night, I could not sleep. I kept checking my doors and windows. I started crying because my life could have been over. I am just thankful to still be here. I knew that my light bill was going to be high because I had all the lights on in the house. That morning when I returned to work, I saw Zachary at his station. I spoke to him, but he could tell that something was wrong.
Are you alright, Felicia?
No, Zach. I was nearly unalived last night.
He made a gesture for me to come closer so that no one could hear our conversation.
What? What happened?
I explained everything to him, and Zach asked me if I notified the police and made a report. I told him yes. He offered to escort me home, but I refused. Besides, I didn't know the identity of the clown. He could be anyone.
I just want you to be safe. Here is my cell phone number. Call me and let me know when you have made it home safe.
Okay, I will. And Zach?
Yeah.
Thank you.
For what?
Just for being concerned.
No problem. I had a sister, and I would have wanted someone to offer the same courtesy to her.
Then he walked away. On the way home, I had the cab driver to take me to the supermarket. I purchased a lot of groceries and then I was on my way home. When the cab driver pulled up in front of my house, there was an officer and Zach waiting for me. He wasn't dressed like he would at work. He was wearing a suit. I was confused. What was Zach doing to my house? I never told him where I lived. The nosy cab driver offered to help me with my groceries, but I refused. I paid him and then Zach and the officer helped me with the groceries. He said that he had to talk to me. So I invited him and the officer into my house. After placing the grocery bags in the kitchen, I sat down to hear what Zach had to say, and what he said astonished and frightened me. Zachary revealed that he was only working at the construction site as a private investigator. His sister had previously worked there and was found unalive in her apartment due to a homicide. Eerily, she used to live in the apartment where I reside now. That clown sure acted as if he was familiar with the street. Yet I wanted to hear more of what Zach had to say. He was determined to find out who murdered his sister. Plus, there were a rash of burglaries at that site where we both worked. Several of the employees were missing and never seen again. Zach said that DNA test revealed that Daniela was the clown. Detectives concluded that Daniela would go after everyone that worked in the office with her, no matter if the person was a veteran worker or new employee. She wanted the office to herself so that she could continue to embezzle funds from the company. Some of these employees were discovered deceased in the basement of her home. Daniela was arrested at her home, but she was not saying anything. She just shut down and is now despondent. Surprisingly, she liked Zach and tried to do sneaky things to get him fired because he rejected her. I was frightened to the realization that the clown that was trying to expire me was the office manager at the company in which I worked. I am now the office manager of that same construction company, and I need an administrative assistant. Do you need a job?
Thank you for listening to The Spectator's Creepy Tales. Remember that the subscription is free. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I am watching you to add a new collection to the Creepy Tales. Sleep easy.